Noella. So I'm going to say hello and welcome, and then most likely you'll hear me say it again when we have others arrive. I think there's a couple more that we're waiting for. So hi Ginny, hi Canty, hi Noella,
Hello.
hi Emma. Thank you for joining us. I would like to start by inviting us into a few moments of reflection, and that will give enough time for anybody else to arrive, to contact us and say they can't get in or anything like that. So I want to ask you to just take a few moments to get really comfortable. I'm going to ask you to notice your feet making contact with something else. Noticing what it's like to sit in the position that you're sitting in. On your chair, or if you're on something else, just notice what it's like. Give yourself a few moments to be here. Welcome, Chloe. I know you've come in, but I can't see you because your camera's off. Perfect. See you when you arrive. We're just settling. We're taking a couple more minutes. I want to ask you to notice what it feels like for you to be here. To thank you once again for arriving. To have found us in whatever way you found us. To thank you for finding a way to take care of yourself with the help of another human being. Oftentimes these things are unrecognized, but actually I think it takes a lot of courage to reach out for help, to find our way to places where help can be found, and to also engage in the process. There you are. Chloe, you didn't notice in the beginning, or you weren't here in the beginning. I just inviting people to feel where their feet are on the ground. Notice where their body's making contact with something else. Just give yourself a bit of time to arrive. And I know when we invited you to come, we gave you 3 questions. And the questions, in a way, were designed to give you something to reflect on and kind of get the thinking process going for you around what it's been like for you to be in this therapy with IPS. So you've been with an integration psychotherapist underneath the umbrella of Pillamaya in our therapeutic organisation, Integration Psychotherapy Services. And I'm really curious to hear from you. To know what brought you here, and what the therapy's done for you. And I know that I speak to you. I have done everyone here in the beginning. I met you, and I know that Emma also interacts with you, whether it is about payments or whether it's to find out how you're going. So I'm probably not unfamiliar. But yeah, I wanted to invite you into this space. And so I'm not going to give you an order of how you appear on my screen. I'm just going to invite anyone to share in your own order what you came up with when you reflected on these questions. So I'm going to read them out loud, and then I'm going to hand it over to you. So the first one is, when you arrived at IP therapy, what did you believe you needed? And we're looking to know, whether it was kind of clarity, some kind of relief, support, or something else. And the second question was, what did you actually receive, or what did you discover about yourself in the process? So large or small, oftentimes we get drawn into something that becomes something else. And this is, often the case. And what we realize is that we were taking ourselves to a place where we could explore something about our lives. And what originally took us there was actually not what we were going for. And the third question is, what do you still carry with you now as part of your IP toolkit? So whether you're still engaging in therapy or whether you've completed therapy, we're looking to kind of find out whether it's a particular practice like yoga nidra that might not mean anything to you. It means something to us in the training. It may not be a practice that you've practiced. Journaling, or whether there's kind of a different shift in you that leads you to have a different sense of self, whether it be more self-compassion, better boundaries, or kind of knowing when to pause. So these are the questions that we gave you. I want to ask you to come forward if you want to share something about what you came up with. Come on, Ginny, are you coming in?
I was
Yeah.
going to say, if nobody's going to go, I'm happy to start. I think when I first started, I don't actually think I had something specific that I thought I was going for, actually. I think that was like part of my problem, was that I knew I needed help in some capacity, but I used to really struggle with like figuring out what it was. I knew something wasn't quite aligned, I think was how I described it when I first had a conversation with you. Um, but actually now I can see that I needed some support and some clarity. Um, in terms of what I feel like I've actually received and discovered through the process was that I'm not as self-aware as I thought I was, and that actually a lot of the self-awareness I had was still quite rooted in some old patterns that I thought I'd, handled through whether that was age or maturity or life experience. I think it made me realize that I was feeling quite disconnected from my body, not necessarily in the physical sense of like physically doing something, but disconnected from my body and how it was feeling and how I could use that as way of figuring out, whether something was right for me or whether it wasn't. And I think that is probably the biggest takeaway
Mm.
from it, is just learning to connect more with not just my head and that being a sense of self, but also just, yeah, feeling through my actual body rather than just kind of from an intellectual perspective. So yeah.
So, would you say overall that the therapy has, in a way, helped you to become more embodied?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I first started speaking to my therapist, that was part of was us figuring out what was it that I actually needed. And it was that I realized I felt like the outside of me wasn't aligned with the inside of me. And I was going through quite a big period of change when I first started anyway. And I feel like, yeah, now is starting to put them two things together and focus more on the internal
Ah,
me rather than the me that is kind of projected into the world, or at least what I was projecting into the world. So
that makes sense. So, would you say then that the therapy supported the change? And actually, in the change that you were going through internally, was the change external as well?
yeah, it was both. I think the change was external, and like it's like the internal version of me knew it needed to change but didn't know how it needed to get there to
Uh-huh.
match what was happening outside and what I knew I wanted to happen inside. It's like I was caught in loops and patterns and things. So
So, in a way, what I'm hearing from you is the therapy helped you to come away from history. So, the
yeah.
idea of what you were that was not really matching up with where you were arriving at. So, there was a disconnect between those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. And so, do you find that now you've got this kind of more embodied sense of self and that you've caught up with yourself in a way? Do you find that your environment and the way that you experience your environment has changed also?
Yeah, I think quite significantly. I mean, I'm still in the process now, so there are still times where I find myself going back and then kind of having working on how I can pull myself out of that and be that embodied self. But yeah, there's definitely a better sense of that than what there had been for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I'm hearing from you in a way is that the therapy has helped you have this embodied sense of yourself, and this embodied sense of self has become stable enough so that you can recognize it when you go somewhere else, back into history or back into
Yeah.
or anything that's kind of not really aligned with the now, and you're recognizing the difference. And so it's quicker for you to
Yeah.
bring yourself back into the now in a way, rather than in past ideas of self. Wow. And then there's something else that I heard you say earlier on, and it made me smile inside, because I think the therapy has also helped you to see that understanding self is an ongoing process.
hmm
And in a way, we've all got we've all got a lifetime to get to know ourselves more. And in a way, it's always becoming the next version. And so I think the therapy might have helped you not only understand that you're changing, constantly changing, so that ideas that you have about yourself even last week may not be relevant to the form of yourself that you find yourself in this week, in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does, because each kind of time I pull myself back to now is another like step of learning and understanding. And yeah, I don't think that's gonna disappear all of a sudden. So
So in that way, what I hear is that through the process, you're understanding that you as a person are actually like more like a process of discovery, like you're in like a process of self-discovery that may never stop. What happens when you hear that it may never stop?
I mean, sometimes it's quite hard to come to terms with, but it, I think, having speaking about it more makes me feel like it's a less scary thing to do to evolve. Like, I think that was another big thing that I learned was that a lot of the patterns and behaviors I had were a result of like defense mechanisms, again, from history or like security nets and things like that. And so, although it is scary, actually, that's the best way to be your true self is to kind of embrace it rather than fight against it.
Mhm, mhm. And I'm wondering if the therapy, in a way, has helped you to understand a little bit more about how it works for you. You know, what your processing style is, giving you some tools that you can use to come back into the now, to reach a place of regulation, help you to understand that this way of experiencing yourself and the world is unique to you, and also giving you tools to work with that, so that actually the process of becoming or the process of discovery is much less scary because you've got a little bit of a map
Hmm.
that helps you, know how to take care of yourself in different situations. Mm. Is there anything else you want to say, Jenny?
No, I think that's it, really.
Mm. I want to thank you so much, and I thought I want to thank you for going first.
Okay.
Ah, who's next? You know, Ella?
Hold back because you know I'm like, sure, I'll talk at every opportunity.
So let me be clear for anybody watching. Noella is receiving therapy, but also training to be a therapist. So part of the conditions are, becoming a therapist is that, of course, we get to experience integration psychotherapy. So, so you're having an experience from many different angles.
Many different angles. Yes. And whew, I was looking at the first question and I thought, I don't think I can remember because I feel so different that version of me that started with the one-to-one therapy is almost like a distant memory now.
Mm, mm,
Um, but really kind of focusing on what it was. Yes, it was part of the requirement. Would I have gone? I don't know. If it hadn't have been, I'm not sure whether, but I needed it
mm,
and I'm grateful for it.
mm,
So I think when I first went, I would imagine like many women of my age, there was yes, some history stuff in there, but also going through the change. There was some behaviors and emotions that were playing out, and particularly anxiety
mhm,
quite strongly, which was really affecting most areas of my life, or every area of my life. So there was a lot to work with when I first started.
yeah,
And I suppose going through the journey, the simplicity of it all with all the wonderful exercises that we did, but the simplicity of it all was I needed to learn to love myself again.
Ah,
Could get a bit emotional. And I'm really grateful to my therapist because she has walked by my side as I have rediscovered my self-liking, my self-loving, my self-compassion,
yeah,
whilst also understanding behaviors and defense mechanisms and getting the answers to my whys, because I'm a little bit of a why person. Less so these days. But so I think because it's still ongoing, and I think it will probably be ongoing for as long as I can.
mm-hmm.
Maybe not quite as in the regularity as it is at the moment, but I really do value having somebody who I can soundboard with, get a different perspective of, get that little bit of that deeper drop down into the learning that because it's my stuff, I maybe not always have the same clear lens on it that I may have when I'm sitting on the other side of that. But it is definitely the simplicity of slowing down, being in the body, recognizing when emotions are bubbling up and just sitting with those to see what the message is that they're giving me as to what my external experience is, maybe where I need to change something or I'm reacting from something that's probably not to do with that, but to do with something else, those kind of things. It gives you a little bit of a pause so that you can just calibrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in what you're saying, Noella, what I'm hearing is that first and foremost, it's been a container that you've been able to rediscover
Yeah.
self-love within. And the relationship between you and your therapist has been really influential
Yeah.
in the process of rediscovering self-compassion, liking and love.
Yeah.
And that because you're in the place you are in kind of two different aspects of this therapy, you know more about technique
Yes.
and you know more about kind of the things that are behind the training,
Yes.
and in a way the theoretical stuff that's behind it. But in actual fact, the thing that's meant the most to you in this therapy is the simplicity
Yeah.
and the slowing down,
Yeah.
and just being present with each other.
Yeah.
And so perhaps because of that, some of the whys have been able to rest,
Yeah.
and it's easier to meet together in the space in between.
Yeah. And I think when you drop into the body,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reconnection with a wisdom.
Yeah.
So the whys don't matter so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to sit a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beauty as well that I love about this therapy from a client point of view is I can now go into a deeper aspect of self, which is now about soul,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not sure would be available elsewhere. And I can talk about some of those things and not see any kind of reaction in my therapist's face as to like, she's with me.
Yeah.
She's prepared to go wherever I want to go and be with me to help me explore it.
Yeah. So she's meeting you. She's meeting you where you are in a way,
Yeah.
and maybe even following you as you take the journey to uncover some of these deeper aspects.
Yeah.
And there was a question that came up to me before, and it was about the emotions you spoke about. Do you feel like the therapy itself has also helped you to tolerate some of these emotions that come up and interact with them differently?
Yeah.
Which, in a way, probably has been very necessary for you to experience this and actually to have the confidence in yourself that you can experience these things. And actually, it's quite normal to the human experience. And then through that, in a way, there's more space that opens for you to look at the deeper meaning.
Yeah.
Think about this, concept of soul. What am I?
Yeah.
What is it really?
I just was thinking then as well about what you were saying is it's also allowed me to not just have a intellectual understanding of what boundaries are, but I'm actually now having a very embodied understanding of what boundaries are as well.
Ah, can you say a little bit more about that?
Instead of giving away my autonomy to be pleasing other people in the hope that they might like me when I don't like myself, which is what was the experience before. I'm now in a position where I can put a boundary in and it's pretty solid
Yeah,
because I know that I'm worth it.
yeah.
Whereas I don't think I understood just how a boundary worked because I only had an intellectual understanding of it because I was still too busy thinking I need people to like me.
Yeah. When you say thinking that, what I'm with as you say that is my belief that a lot of that stuff happens underneath thinking.
Yeah,
It's almost like a compulsive behavior
yeah,
that kind of in a way reduces the strength of boundaries or even a capacity to put boundaries down.
yeah.
So the embodied sense of self that you have, is that changing how you're able to say no?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been quite profound actually.
So I want to pull these things together. I know I was very quick to jump in there, but because I saw an opportunity I didn't want to miss. So if actions such as people pleasing comes from more of an unconscious aspect of self and plays out in our behaviors in a way, is also unconsciously playing out in our behaviors in a sense we don't even know we're doing it. We might intellectually understand what boundaries mean or the desire to please, but actually we don't know that it's happening in our own system and in our own lives. But this wisdom that you've connected to in the body has actually helped you to understand that this is happening. So therefore, the body wisdom connects you to the unconscious processes in a way that the intellect can't.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Because for me to rediscover self-compassion, to have that be I'm going to use the word because it's the one that comes, for that to be the sovereign sense of it means that there is no option other than to have boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a sense, your journey with the therapy has taken you to a point in your development, a place in your development, or a point in time whereby everything's changed so much that you can't go back.
No.
This is the new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
Noella, is there anything else you want to share?
Oh, always sure, but in this context, no.
If we have time, I'm going to come back to you if there's anything
Okay.
else you want to say. Thank you, Noella.
Thank you.
I'm going to request that we hear from Chloe next, if that's okay.
Of course.
Chloe, how did you go with the questions?
So to be fair, I've kind of read them 3 times over in different occasions to try and like answer them. So I've answered them. I feel like I've throughout this like conversation as well, I've been able to answer them even further. So we'll see how we go with answering them now, right?
Uh-huh.
And this time.
So, what did you think you needed? What did you believe you needed when you first came?
Um, First of all, I needed consistency and I needed someone to listen to me.
Mhm.
Because I genuinely just felt like I wasn't feeling like I was being supported or listened to. Um and the NHS and stuff like that, it was really difficult to get anything from them for mental health and stuff like that. And when I was getting some help, it was very sporadic, unfortunately, due to where we live and stuff like that, it isn't that great. So like being able to find the service has been like almost like a pressure relieving, like if you can imagine like one of your like cookers little thing, like so it's like that. I hate waiting in queues, so like the imaginary queues of like how long things are taking now. Um it is literally, I think it's probably alleviated about 5 years of my life expectancy, to be fair, at the other end, from that stress. So being able to actually have someone there and the consistency and not be messed about, like, oh, such and such is away, you're going to be covered by this person and then by that person, and before you know it, you've like told your life story 4 times over and you're sick and tired and you could, you know, don't really know what to do, but it's just really hard to kind of like, I've realized how hard it is to communicate and how hard it is to communicate properly, but also have compassion for myself and have that time, because like my life is constantly unfolded. And I'm now starting to get to, like, we actually had a conversation of nothing the other day, like nothing, no noise, and she was like, after 18 months,
Ah,
this is the first time that we've not had any noise.
wow.
That is interesting. So we're at like a kind of new normal right now,
Mhm,
and I feel like time's starting to kind of catch up where I'm like kind of safe space,
mhm,
and I've got like even though like I can get dead overwhelmed with things, I can actually understand why I get sensory overwhelmed, like why I'm overwhelmed with these things, why I like energy, why I get so overwhelmed with my dogs, even though I love them so much. Why did I cry so much? Or like, why was I getting so frustrated? Because I hated working in big shops and stuff like that. I felt like I was so spread thin and I followed my dream and then I crashed and I couldn't understand why, because I love all of my animals. And then realizing like with life and stuff like that, I just get so attached to them, and it's compassion for me. It's taking time for me, and like there's been so many different aspects that have been validated that I just don't feel as crazy anymore, and I feel like things can slow down and I can take a breath
mhm.
and be in the present for like and be okay and be safe.
I want to come back to you, Chloe, with a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I'm hearing from you is when you arrived, you needed consistency,
Yeah.
you needed safety, and you needed to be able to, in a way, trust that actually the person you were going to be with was going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So the process that you went on to get into the service, you know, was, I imagine, pretty quick in comparison to what you'd been through with other services.
Yeah.
So that got you to where you needed to be as swiftly as possible. And then you built up a relationship with this therapist. And after 18 months, which in one sense might feel like a long time, and in another sense, it's not really that long in the
It's really not.
but this therapy has helped you understand, from what I'm getting, to understand more about how your system is built, your system design.
Mhm.
You know, whereby following your heart might be something, but in actual fact, that following your heart may have conditions to it that lead you into crashing somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the therapy itself may have given you what you need to understand that your system design is your system design. It can't be anything other than your system design, and given you some tools in a way to work with that. And in a sense, normalized it. You know, helped you to realize that actually this is normal for you.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's just having that accountability, like every week being able to just check in with someone and then be like, Chloe, you never let anything slip. Like you're being on at everything. Like you have, but at the same time, you're a human. And to be fair, like you're different. Like I realized, like I actually was thinking about my quirks today, and I was like, yeah, Chloe, like in a world full of like so many different people, you're like, yeah, I dress totally different. Like I'm just very quirky, and it's just nice to be validated. It's nice to have someone to like be able to, talk to and like be able to like chat to, like
Yeah.
and not have to feel like I have to fix something
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. So does this give you the confidence to be yourself, and also to know that in this self that you are, there are some situations where the like sensory experience you have might be a bit
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
there's some other situations where there are other things that may be too much, but because you've been able to chat about it in the therapy, in the therapeutic space, um it's more easy for you to realize that actually it's okay, it's normal,
Yeah.
and it's normal for you. And so
Mhm.
hopefully this is helping you to navigate life differently,
Yeah.
where you've got more confidence to avoid some of the things that you may have done before just because everybody else might seem to be doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think as well, it's like when I give, so I've been really, really trying with like boundaries and stuff like that, but I also realise that when I give to people, sometimes they just don't get when they need a little bit more. It's like when you give an inch, take a mile kind of situation.
Uh-huh.
And if I react in a certain way or I just shut, like now it's just a case of like there's zero energy there. Like if I can't do it, I can't do it. And I think just having that kind of like, you know, just chatting about that and like having the frustration of wanting other people to understand that and not and realizing that people just sometimes don't get it. And it is what it is. Like I actually got a t-shirt that I got yesterday and it was like, it is what it is. We can't change it. We can communicate and converse till the cows come home, but it really, it depends on the actions afterwards as well and how we all work through it. And that's kind of what I'm kind of operating through now is just like kind of staying in my own lane, kind of vibing my own. I've actually taken a week off. I've basically called time with everything. I'm just going to be myself for the next week just to like be. And that's a big thing as well because like usually I would just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. So taking that time and space. So this is just a like kind of new normal. So it's a nice new normal. It's not as horrifying. Like there is some like waiting things and like waiting lists and all that kind of stuff that unfortunately we do still have to wait in. But it's being able to wait in those queues and not feel as like as desperate or as frustrated, and being able to work out why I'm feeling these ways, or like, you know, so having that kind of emotional kind of understanding and accountability over, you know, I'm very attached to like the dogs and stuff like that, and Elsie hasn't been that well, so like I feel all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's I don't I don't I'm separating all of that kind of energy. So like learning that and realizing that, like, you know, just having like Claire there just to chat to is just, it's been really, really important.
So, Chloe, what I'm hearing from you is the most important thing, in a way, that you are taking from the therapy is your therapist's presence, and to have the consistency in the relationship, and also to know that the therapy and the relationship, in a way, helps you to understand yourself differently or better, which means that you've got more tolerance, for example, for sitting and waiting in queues, on any of those things. And I think what I'm hearing from you as well is that it's helping you to separate a little bit from certain kinds of anxiety.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering whether the therapy is also helping you to have the confidence not to actually have to explain yourself too much for people. It is what it
Mhm.
is, you know. It's not your role to help people to understand what it's like to be you.
Yep,
And do you think the therapy is helping you with that?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that you've practiced, like a
Um,
meditation or anything like that that you carry with you? Yeah.
yeah, so I haven't practiced in a while, but we were practicing like kind of going into like the woods and stuff like that, doing like little me visits, which has been quite cool. Um, so yeah, it's been pretty cool doing that. We've literally just started kind of revisiting that again.
Mhm.
So I've not. Actually should practice it more. So that's what I'm going to start kind of doing over this week. So you've just kind of shunted a wee. There's a wee idea what to do. So yeah, that's what we've been kind of doing. Like before I'd started all of this, I couldn't see anything because I was so overstimulated in survival mode. Couldn't like answer the phone. Couldn't do these things, and didn't want to. I just couldn't see anything. So now being able to sit in a meditation and or anything like that and actually have um the imagination and stuff like that there to be like, no, that I'm sure, like, it's comforting.
Yeah. So that's a huge change in your nervous system.
Yep.
And so I imagine that, I imagine that you know that. And I imagine that the therapist showed you that you've done that. Yes, it's been done in the alliance, it's been done in the therapeutic relationship. But the process that you've gone on to, to put some of these thoughts in order, to come back into this consistent relationship with your therapist, and to keep bringing yourself and be willing to bring yourself again and again and again. In a way, it's made such significant changes that it's become possible for you to be in stillness and even to have a therapy session about nothing. For you to go into meditation and to imagine. So that's a lot of change that you've made in a way in your body, in your
Yeah.
brain and your body.
hmm I can feel more. That's the thing. Like I couldn't feel before. Like I don't know, that sounds really like it before as a kid you would think that's really silly. Like how can you not feel? But you can become so distant from these things. So on the journey, yeah, we have been like kind of working on those things. So it's been very transformative, and it's been really cool to like reflect over and all that kind of stuff. Even just yesterday, even actually sitting down earlier, I was like, wow, like just feeling different things is just a really nice thing than being on the hamster wheel of just overdrive.
So you've brought feelings back into your life,
Yeah.
and in a way, you've made the space for that and done the work to bring them back.
hmm
And so this new now that you're talking about, this new set point, feels to me like it's got many more layers than the now that you came with.
Yeah, I always think of an onion. There's always different roots, and you can talk about all these different things. Like I talk about spirituality quite a lot with my therapist, because I feel like in the modern day of now, there's so many different things going about, and like some of the things people come out with, like kind of like you don't really know how to take them. So it's funny when I bounce them off of my therapist as well, because we basically, it kind of like is again a kind of validation of like my authenticness, of being able to be in the here and now of like, no, you're talking rubbish. You know, because I know people can come across as really confident, but it can be really scary for people that are really vulnerable, and can really affect them in different ways. And you know, being able to like, I literally just spoke about it to my therapist the other day, and that's a big thing as well. Is that like, yeah, it's just interesting. It's just I just love being able to talk about a couple of things, and some really triggering things, some really traumatic things, and some really random things, but all the things, it is always answered with really in-depth conversation about it, so you can't really do that with a lot of people. So it was nice to be able to do that as well.
Yeah.
But there is lots of layers of cycles and stuff like that, because you talk about cycle breaking and all that kind of stuff. So like I've been very, very self-aware of all of these things. So it's been able to, like I said at the start, alleviate the gas on the pot to try and like stop the bubbling, and just keep I'm constantly grounding myself all the time now, just because I am so like energetically, like I can be so like driven by other people and not really understand, so like it's constantly just pulling myself back down and taking time out here and there, and have, like I said, having that consistency was just so important.
So this is one of the tools that you're carrying with you, the grounding techniques,
hmm
and also recognizing that the therapy is a place where you can go and share things that may be confusing. So there's trust there. And you can share things that are about emotional, about physical, and about spiritual information, about information that you're coming across in these different areas of yourself and in the environment. So there's something about trusting that you
hmm
can go there with these things
Yep.
that will be explored without judgment.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Kanti to jump in.
Hello.
I want to be clear as well. Kanti is also a client and therapist, so she's in looking through these two different lenses.
Yeah. I guess the first question around why did you come to therapy? I mean, obviously there's the practical aspect of needing to, it's part of our training to do the therapy, but I have been in and out of therapy over the course of like 30 years, so I think it was long overdue, really. I guess I went in initially with some things around my childhood and sort of developmental stuff. And in a roundabout way, there's been a lot of integration of those things, but not necessarily, well, not in a linear way, you know. There's been a lot of understanding like the story and the history, and and knowing like where certain patterns of behavior or way of being with others has originated from, but also knowing that but still being stuck in those patterns or those loops. And really my therapist really helped me to, I feel like I've adulted over the last like year and a half, like like that I realized that there was a lot of younger aspects of myself that were kind of like running the show, really, and responses to people, and how I related to people was there was a lot underneath that I kind of had a set, I kind of had a sense of, but yeah, I couldn't figure it out on my own, really. So to have someone to kind of you know speak of these things and then have things reflected back at you, it just gives you another lens, really, to see yourself through. And it's really interesting, being almost being seeing yourself mirrored back at you through your therapist, and knowing that actually underneath it all you are okay. However you're showing up, at whatever stage you're at, everything is welcome. And I think there's something huge for me around being accepted and around self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be me, and there's more of me here now. There's I'm sure there's still much more to come, but at this point I can look back at where I was a year ago or 18 months ago and just think, who is she? Like, who was that version of me? And it's not to negate that version of that how I showed up in the world in the way that I have done for like 50 odd years, but just to know that even at any point change and evolution and growth is possible, is really, really powerful. Yeah, I feel a bit
So I think
emotional saying all that.
I think what I'm hearing from you, one of the things I'm hearing from you is that even when we're aware that these patterns and these kind of looping is happening, it doesn't necessarily create change unless there is a kind of awareness. In this case, you say mirrored back to you by the therapist, but it's almost like we can be aware of the thing that's happening because it's creating a familiar turbulence, but we don't necessarily have access to the point of origin, to the parts of the like conditioning in a way that created it. So through the journey with your therapist, you've not only become more aware of them, but actually being able to deconstruct them. And in that process, the the aspects of you that were in a way locked into the historical the historical Kanti were freed from that story, from the story, from the repeats. And so what you experience as yourself today is completely different from that. And the key, one of the keys here is compassion and acceptance. Another one, compassion and acceptance. And through compassion and acceptance, I imagine you can really honor, you know, the Kanti that found her way to therapy, maybe through the training, you know, however you got there, and the result of that is that there's more of you, and you're still ongoing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's really showed up for me, I think, in like relationships, you know, like like again, other people, you've mentioned boundaries, and like because I feel like I'm really like I've been able through this process to really honor what my own needs are in any given situation, because I've always had that pattern of putting other people's feelings and nervous systems above my own. And you know, and that's really changed, you know. That yeah, I ask for my needs to be met, and that doesn't always happen, but I'm asking anyway. You know, and also that, you know, and that is okay. In the past that would have been like a massive like rejection, to be denied if I had asked for something. Yeah. But now it's like, well, I can say it and it might not be met, but I've said it anyway.
Yeah. So there, the most important thing there is the fact that you've said it, the fact that you've spoken up for yourself, the fact that you've brought yourself into the frame and said, hey, this is what I need.
Yeah.
And that in a way is more important than actually getting what you need or what you think you need at the time.
Well, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's just the process of being able to ask.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
bring more of yourself into the relationships you're in.
Yeah.
And how does that affect your experience of those relationships? So
I mean, it's enriched, like it's enriched some relationships, and then other relationships have ended. And that's okay too, you know.
So in a way, you're creating your environment to match how you are, even if it's in the relationships that have ended because you're different, but they've ended because they no longer match in a way with what you are. And so your environment is also shifting as a result of the work that you've put in.
Yeah.
What about your IP toolkit? Anything in your pocket?
But for me, I think daily rituals have become like really important to me. And simple things, right? Like, yeah, simple daily rituals that kind of help me to anchor into myself and stay in that more stable place, you know. And yeah, I'd say rituals.
And did you
Daily
experience
rituals.
that in the therapy? Is it something?
It had been talked about at some points, but I thought in the end I kind of, it was maybe put to the side, and then I kind of formulated my own, like under, you know, without it, but it was kind of in the field, if you like. And it just like evolved on its own, really.
Because I
Well,
know
not
it's part.
I mean, obviously I had a part to play in it, but you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm saying that because I know it's part of your training, so sometimes it might come up in therapy if it's appropriate. but it's also there in the field itself. And so you, in a way, had everything you needed to kind of create your own. But it was something that
Yeah.
was spoken about, so it was a possibility. And if you hadn't have had that or a background that includes something to do with ritual, then it's likely you could have explored that in therapy if it was appropriate.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing with IP, isn't it? It's like there's so many there's so many elements to us being a human, and there's so many ways to, there's so many lenses to look through and different aspects of self. We can look at the body, the energy body, the different parts of the mind. I mean, there's so many different angles that, we can come in through. So it's like it shows, it's really highlighted to me just how multifaceted we are as humans, and you know and that one size doesn't fit all. A lot of my therapy was more talking than practices, but my therapist would really catch certain things that I said,
Mm-hmm.
And then there would be like I would feel the integration, because she would say something back, oh well, you just said that, and la la la, and she'd be like joining the dots, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, and I'd get that kind of feeling of it landing,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like a moment of like, oh, like the light bulb moment,
Yeah.
oh that, oh my god, it was like this far away, but like also like millions of miles away at the same time. So it's quite paradoxical, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah. So in this relationship with your therapist, it sounds to me like the way that your therapist has worked with you is through talking and also kind of pointing out patterns, matching patterns in a way.
Yeah.
And because you know the sense of what integration feels like, you know when it's happening. But there's a recognition, I think, from you that the same therapist with another client may have a completely different focus. It may be much more body orientated or meditation or something like that, because there's so much of us. But what I'm also hearing from you is that you have also found the simplistic nature of the therapy to be useful. Like back to the simple, the ritual, taking care of yourself, putting yourself in the frame, because we can overcomplicate things. So actually, in a way, the mirror and the relationship is the most important thing.
100%. And just being you go into a session, and I would never really plan what, I wouldn't think about what I was going to talk about. It would just be what was there in the moment, and just follow, we would both follow the door that opened in that. And sometimes, I was really surprised at where things went. But I think just that openness of my therapist, not to have too much of an agenda, although there were times when she would say, we touched on this ages ago, and I want to bring you back to
Uh-huh.
this, at very key times, actually, and it's like, oh, I thought I'd kind of like, swerved that one a bit, and it's like, no, we're gonna talk about that one now. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay. And I appreciated that, actually, because it wasn't left, it didn't go unnoticed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so everything, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I was really seen and witnessed. And her memory for like recalling things from a session 3 months before was just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were able to go with the flow
Yeah.
when the material that was arising in the moment, in a way, was recognized by the therapist as potentially being part of something else that had arisen before. Your
Hmm.
attention was called to it, and that led to something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's magic. It's literally magic. And life changing too, like, honestly. extremely grateful for the process. And I'm staying in it, even though I've finished my clinic, my therapy hours for my training. I'm not stop, it's an ongoing process for me,
Process of self-discovery.
over and over again.
Wonderful. Canty, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I don't think so. Have I covered everything?
I think so.
Yeah. I did actually write some things down. I actually prepped a little bit today.
Yeah. Did you cover them?
Just in case. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I did. And more.
So there you go. So another lesson in trust.
Exactly.
Thank you, Canty.
Thanks, sure.
I want to hand it over to Emma to see if there's anything you want to say, Emma. And then if not, hand it back to you to see if there's any questions you want to ask of myself or Emma. And we'll see where we go. Emma, is there anything you want to say?
Nothing I want to say. But while you were all talking, I am going to try and share something with you.
You want to post? I have closed.
Can you see that?
Look at that. Oh, look at that. Wow.
So I was trying my best to kind of get some words that you were sort of saying that were coming up as you were going through it. I didn't capture them all, so I'm really sorry. So if anyone does have any words that they feel like is a really critical one for them that I've missed, then obviously just let me know. But yeah, I just wanted you to sort of, as a group, also kind of see the things that you were saying and capturing as you spoke. So I thought that would just be lovely. That was all I have to say.
Emma, this is brilliant. I want to know if anybody has a word that you would like to put on there.
Could you put present on there?
Present.
Present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Can we see it again, Emma? Can we see what you've got?
Yeah.
I'd like to add sovereignty, Emma.
Yeah.
Come on, Emma, you can do it.
Thanks.
The spelling.
And every time I click it, you see it changes it round. So the other thing is that if we don't like a particular constellation of the words, then we can just click it and it will remove them.
Do we have anything else? No, Ginny? Not forever and ever and ever?
Worried about it taking up too much of the cloud, so
I can put forever.
yeah, or maybe ongoing, I think is
Yeah.
a nice word.
Ongoing. Oh, look at that.
Could you also put trust in if that's okay? Sorry to pure add another one in there, but
No, it's all
no
good.
more, I promise.
Trusting. Oh,
Yeah.
not thirsting, trusting.
Anything else?
Can we put compassion in there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you if we put self-love? Because that came up in the beginning.
Oh.
Does that seem about right?
Consistency. Can we have consistency, which was Chloe's main thing?
Sometimes I don't like the shape it creates.
Anything else?
How about safety or safe place?
Safety.
Oh, I like that one. It's gone into a nice shape.
Is that better now, Emma?
Yeah. Thanks, Kamsi.
Shall we stop there then? Can we keep this?
Yeah, I'll screenshot it so we've got it.
But it says there that you can save word cloud. Can you save it?
I know, but we're on a free version, so I don't know. I'll save it and see what happens. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'll stop sharing now. Yes.
Thank you, Emma.
No worries.
I'm curious to know if you have any questions for us. And if you don't, we will close shortly. But if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask.
I do actually have one question,
Come
which
on,
is
Julie.
more curiosity. I guess just it would be interesting to get some insight on how you match up people with their therapists. And I say that because as somebody who can be quite close at first, when I first met my therapist, I wasn't sure that the fit was going to be right, but actually I think the difference between us has actually been really beneficial, or the approach she takes in contrast to how I was at that time has ended up being really beneficial. So I would just be interested to get any insight on that.
I think that's a great question. This is one of the roles that I keep because I don't trust anybody else to do it. Sorry, Emma. No, because I know the therapist. I know the therapist more than anybody else in the organisation. There isn't an easy answer to that. There isn't a simple formula. You come with this, you come with this, and I do that. Oftentimes, I'm having a sense of your nervous system. I'm having a sense of how you're answering the questions. What you're disclosing, what you're not. I'm having a sense of how I sense you. And I'm thinking through what's in your history and what's in the history of the students, the therapist rather. And I'm looking to match through those different lenses and more. Also what you're saying you want, if they've got any specialities, and it might be that there's a connection between you that you may not know about, but the connection between you is the deciding factor that kind of led to you being matched with that person. Occasionally it is, occasionally the fit that I would have made for you is not possible because the therapist doesn't have space. And in that case, I go to who is the next, likely fit for you, knowing that the therapy itself and the journey that the therapists go on, in the end, create the kind of container that anybody can step into. So oftentimes if you're seeking therapy for yourself, you'll look for the therapist and you'll find whether they match you. But because the therapy works how it does, in that it's looking to meet you, and the therapist is looking to meet you where you are rather than have a fixed idea of what they think you are, it's very likely that you're going to find some ground between you. And as soon as that's made and the therapeutic alliance starts to form, you've got a place where magic can happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
It's a great question. I mean, also on another level, helps me to have a function in the organisation. Like I have a role. Yeah. Is there
I
any?
actually joked, Shora, that you were like the Harry Potter sorting wizarding hat.
Oh, really?
I joked, yeah.
That's a great identity. I could
Yeah.
take that on.
Gryffindor. Yeah.
Emma,
You're
you
very
remember
good.
this
You're a
one?
very, very good wizard in sorting hat. You are good at it, I would say.
Well, it's, it really is a case of knowing who we've got, knowing the therapists, and as I say before, knowing the processes that they've gone through in order to get themselves to a place of stability where they can offer their services. And often there is a process, there's some kind of process where I know that they can support you through whatever you're going through because they've had embodied experiences of something similar. And it can be sometimes as simple as that. Because we can only, in a way, we can only accompany people on paths that we've walked ourselves. And this is what you're picking up in a way sometimes, Chloe, I think, when you're looking at some of the, offerings that are given to the world. In a way, gosh, there's a way of hearing something and there's a way of feeling something. There's a way of speaking about something and there's a way of walking the path. And so there's something about the matching process that is really to do with putting you together with people that have walked a path that will be useful for your journey. And it's not just going to feel like words. That's me. Any other questions or comments? Shall we close down the meeting? Thank you again. Thank you for finding us. Thank you for your commitment to yourself, to therapy, and to your communities, your families, your communities. Between us, we learn how to be the example that shows, what we want to see in our world. It takes a lot of courage, and I want to thank you for that. And that's me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Laura.
I think Emma's going to send you a word cloud. Emma, will you send the word cloud? The word cloud now.
Yeah, I can send you the word cloud, no worries.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. 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 Bye.